What's up, everybody? My name is Chasse, a Bitcoin and crypto OG since 2012.
Thank you for tuning in. I believe everyone who's watching right now is part of the solution that I'm creating.
Exciting. Great. Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining. We have Didi from the Bitcoin Family. Doesn't need an introduction. Chris from MMCrypto. Carl from the Moon. And our very own Chasse, CEO and founder here at Master Ventures. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start off by reading a quote. And I need you guys to guess, fill in the blank. So you're going to know who said it, but I will eat my blank if I lose blank. Bet. So, who said that? And how much is this bet they're talking about?
I'm pretty sure we're talking about John McAfee, right?
Yeah.
And the famous genital prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So I will eat my dick if Bitcoin doesn't hit $1 million.
Is that correct?
This
Yes.
is
He
basically-
started with 500,000
Yeah.
and then he actually doubled down to 1 million, and he said it's based on mathematics, that everyone who's not believing that is a fool. And now he's seeing that it is not turning out to be happening, most probably, and he just changed his opinion and said everyone who believed him is a fool. So basically everyone is a fool. I think he's really turning crazy right now.
It basically says that people that think that Bitcoin will ever go to $1 million are fools, and that it's never going to happen, it's just nonsense. And maybe that's a great bullish sign, seeing one of the most bullish bulls turning bearish. So it could be a sign that Bitcoin is about to pump soon.
But he is saying that he is saying that he's going.
Far-fetched, but
Yeah, he's saying now that he didn't mean it, because on the same day he tweeted that will fucking would be a new trend in the 2021 as well. So he said, if people believe that Bitcoin, that I would eat my dick when Bitcoin goes to $1 million, they should also believe this tweet I made on the same day that will fucking would be a very beautiful thing in the future. So it's all the drama we need in crypto. It's excitement, it's entertainment that draws all the people into this beautiful space.
That's fair. Okay, so I guess you guys all win. On that note, there's been a lot of talk lately about, or rather, I saw on Ivan on Tech, he was talking about shadow mining. So I don't know if you guys would like to explain what this is.
Shadow mining?
Shadow mining.
I don't even know what that is
Me
actually.
neither.
I read an article today that they are mining in tombs nowadays where people are buried. Is that shadow mining? And they're all mining below dog kennels in China. I don't know if this is shadow mining because that's hiding your miners.
I didn't
saw
hear
it
about that
also.
as well.
Or did you mean shadow banning?
No.
Shadow mining.
I saw you made a video about it. I didn't watch the video, but so I don't know what it is.
So basically, and I'm not quoting him, but it's basically like the problem with it is that two miners can mine at the same time, and there can be two different
Chains.
Ah, yes.
And like, what does that mean? Like, which is true? And
I remember that was happening at the BSV fork, when Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision fork. There were rumors that people were shadow mining and trying to get the longest chain, and then just overtake the network by having the longest chain, which is necessary to be the
Main chain.
And that was an issue at the BSV fork. I don't know that this is a new issue right now. So, but yeah.
Yeah, for if that was the case on Bitcoin, it'd be extremely difficult.
It's actually so expensive, and
Yeah.
and it should have happened from 2009 already. I think to have a realistic chance to
Well,
do that.
you could try to do it today, but you would have to have more hashing power than the Bitcoin network.
Much more to be faster, and yeah.
Yeah. And form enough blocks for it to actually be a longer chain. Yeah, you'd have to be much more and it would take such a long time because you have to have a longer chain, right?
Yeah.
So
Was it regarding Bitcoin? This
it's
shadow
regarding
mining?
Bitcoin and how that's like, it's a fear because that's like the one like thing that could like break or like jeopardize the.
maybe he's talking about quantum computing or something, because if that was the case, potentially it could happen, I guess.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's another 50 or something line, I think.
That would mean that somebody is investing a lot of money, and with result he is not going to make a lot of profit.
And the thing with Bitcoin is it has game theory built into it. So if somebody were to do that, everyone would lose faith in Bitcoin and the value would plummet to zero, and whoever spent all that money trying to do that would have spent all that money for nothing, because what they would have accomplished would be a bunch of worthless Bitcoin.
At the same time, if you would have just taken all his hashing power and put it into the
Actual
Bitcoin
money.
blockchain, he would make so much money, because he needs a multiple fold of hashing power to even achieve his goals over a few years. So he would make much more by just actually mining Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
game theory.
Game theory. I think you thought if anyone would know, you guys would know, so that's why.
I was sleeping on
bring this
that,
up.
seems like.
Yeah. Okay, so Chris, I just recently saw you were talking about how the recent Bitcoin dump was like an indicator for like a massive bullish pattern. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a little far-fetched, but I always try to find some different viewpoints. And if you go all the way back to October 2019, we had a dump after this Xi Jinping China pump to 10,500. Bitcoin went down, retraced back once again to 10,500, was rejected. And then we saw the Corona dump from 10,500 down to 3,800. And then again up to 10,500 just 3 days ago. And what I was talking about is a possible, it's not confirmed yet, inverse head and shoulders pattern with a small left shoulder from 10,500 down, as I said, back to 10,500. Then the head in the middle, back to 10,500. And in case we are going down now to whatever, it can be 9,000, 8,500, 8,000, and then we trace back. The next attempt is very likely to be successful. It would be the fifth touch point at 10,500, and in case we would be breaking out there, the technical target from the bottom of the 3,800 to 10,000, if we take this line over to the 10,500 future breakout, hopefully, the technical target would be 17,000. So this dump just shows, okay, maybe we are forming the right shoulder in the inverse head and shoulders pattern. And if this turns out to be true, of course, that would be a very bullish scenario, taking us all the way up to 17,000 once we finally break the 10,500 level.
I've also been looking a little bit at that, but I think that, of course, we need to see a bigger retracement, maybe down to like 7K or 6K for that to be the case. And even then, a head and shoulders is never a pattern until we break above the neckline. So we need to break above 10,500 after a long retracement down to 6,000. So far it's very, very far-fetched, but yeah, it happens that you can kind of spot them before they happen, but head and shoulders are they're not supposed to be traded until they actually break above the neckline. So that would be like many weeks from now.
Could be
does that.
5 weeks, but 8,000 would be enough for the retracement to be a right shoulder. Ideally, the right shoulder is higher than the left shoulder, and the left shoulder was like 6,400. So anything above 6,400, it could be even 8,000 would already be a valid right shoulder. But of course, right now it is far-fetched. We need the retracement to, I would say, at least 8,000, a bounce, and then Bitcoin has to break above the 10,500. Then we can say, okay, this might be a huge inverse head and shoulders pattern, and the technical target would be 17,000.
Thank you. So many of your viewers already have a general education, or they already have a general understanding of technical analysis. But like for those that are just starting out or don't know as much, like where would you point them to? Like what resources in educating themselves?
I think that YouTube, for the first part, is a great source of free information, and then there are countless books that can be read.
Could you
And
list a few?
I think that specifically for technical analysis, that there are a few of them, but I think that also it's important to read about like other successful traders that have gone through the ups and downs that you need to go through to become a good trader. And Market Wizards is one of the books that I think is a great book for people to read, because it's not necessarily about the technical analysis, but you're reading the stories from people that are using technical analysis, and for investing and trading. And these are like the most famous and most successful traders from the past few decades, and they're just explaining how most of them at one point in time or more points in time lost everything they had in a few trades, because they didn't know how to use proper risk management and other things that they just didn't understand. But you learn from your mistakes. And every time you have a losing trade, you learn. And it's just interesting to read about these people, hearing that they have done all of these stupid mistakes that all traders do in the beginning. But the thing that separates the good from the bad is that the good traders, they learn from the mistakes instead of just repeating them over and over. And the people that repeat these mistakes over and over, they will continuously lose over time.
And yeah, I want to add something to that. For everyone who is not only into trading, I would always recommend to have also a holding portfolio. So I would recommend also to understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin. I myself, the biggest part of my portfolio is a long-term holding portfolio, whereas I'm only trading a very small fraction of my portfolio. And if you want to understand this, of course, if you're into reading, it's 9 pages only. The Bitcoin white paper is good. And then also on YouTube, you have Andreas Antonopoulos, who is the most knowledgeable guy ever. If you go on his channel, you subscribe to his channel and you go to playlists, you see certain playlists. So this is a good starting point. All of his information are legit and very, very knowledge-based and easy to understand. And it's even entertaining how he explains it. So I could really recommend Andreas Antonopoulos.
Great, thank you. And then one more question for you guys, and then I have question for you, Kyle. And this is, if you look at your past videos and like all of your different projections, right? Markets can go up or down. How many times do you think you've been right? Or how many times do you think you've been wrong?
So I can talk for myself. There were times where I was more wrong than right. But recently, especially after the Corona dump, I would say I was much more often right than wrong. But as I said, of course, I had many occasions where I was wrong also. But yeah, fairly speaking, within the last few months, I had a lot of good calls, and I was not trading a lot, but the trades were also going very well, whereas I have also had an unprofitable period before. I remember how I was late on the 14,000. I was expecting the price to go a little bit higher, whereas on the technicals, it was a little obvious that 14,000 is a likely top, and I had some unsuccessful trades afterwards, but I made up for that a lot with the pumps to 10,500, and also recently from 3.8 to 10,500, where I had a lot of good calls and where I was more right than wrong.
Well, I never went back and checked the statistics myself, but I actually met a guy from, or in Davos in Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, and he had this app where he said that he always tracks the predictability of like YouTubers' calls, and he said that my channel was very accurate. He said that it's like, he says that because he's based on my analysis, he clicks up or down whether my video is bearish or not, and he told me that it's very successful in my calls.
Yes.
I would love to use that myself and try it out, but yeah. What was his name? The guy from Crypto Nights?
I forgot his name. Yeah. I remember him.
Faisal.
Alex Faisal?
Alex, yeah. That's the guy. Yeah, so shout out to Crypto Nights. Great content.
For me, I just starting making these channels. I don't do my own TA. I just share other people's TA, and I thought because I know TA, I can express my opinion about them. I didn't ever calculate how many I did right or wrong. I just was very happy with the one I did like 2 days ago, when I said this beautiful energy value indicator of Bitcoin was predicting a huge drop, and in the evening we saw the big red drop. So that was a beautiful hit for me. Yeah, I scored.
Winning. And then Kyle, I understand you don't trade.
Nope.
No. Can you share a little bit about that? Like why? What's your position on this?
A lot of reasons. I'm in it for a different reason. So my strategy has always been buy and hold. I have tried trading for like a week before, and it was one of the most stressful weeks of my life. You're constantly glued to your screen of your phone. You always have anxiety about what the price is. And for me, I just know it's not the best way to make money. If you want to be at like something like 98% of traders or something don't make money. So unless you want to dedicate it as a full-time job and really try to get good at it. But even then, I think my personal opinion about Bitcoin markets is the market cap's too small. I mean, I was trading on an exchange the other day, just not trading for making money, but buying into a coin that I think has long-term value, and just buying a quarter of a Bitcoin in this coin spiked the price. Like I was considered a whale on that exchange, you know, and so for people that have much more money than I do, it's also easy for them to manipulate the market so much. I think the last spike, and then we had a day or something of above 10,000, and then the crash down. I think that was pure market manipulation. There's no TA in the world that can call that. You know, it's just, you can go back after the fact and you can say, oh yeah, here it was obvious that it, and then you can make up some type of pattern, draw some lines or some circles or whatever, and you can then justify it after the fact. But most of the time when I talk to people who are trading in the space, they're 50-50 on whether they're losing or winning, and I don't think that the odds, you know, maybe some people who really understand fundamental Bitcoin analysis and mix it in with technical analysis, maybe there's some advantage there. But I think that it's, there's some other interesting things that tend to, like, I had a feeling that there was going to be a dump on this last one because everybody was so bullish. And because I think whales are manipulating the market right now, they tend to play with people's emotions. So when everybody gets super bullish, they tend to dump. When everybody's super bearish, they tend to spike the market. It seems to be opposite of what the sentiment is in the market. But you know, it's mostly just for my sanity, not being a trader. I figure if I spend my time and energy on something else to make money, and then just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, it's a much better way for me personally to make money and accumulate Bitcoin. You know, and that's what my goal is I mean, I'm not just invested in Bitcoin, I'm invested in equity in a lot of crypto companies. I'm invested in other altcoins as well, not a whole lot, but some else. And when I believe in something, I just buy and hold because I'm not looking at short-term price action. I'm looking at long-term price action. And so I think that if the fundamentals are good of a project, in the long run, it's going to go up. And then it saves me a lot of anxiety and stress and things like that, and I can focus on other things.
Thank you. How do you guys deal with anxiety, like in trading? Do you experience
First of all,
this?
if you do feel anxiety about trading, then you have the wrong position size and you're trading with either too much money in every single trade, or you have just too much of your portfolio in the trading account. And I mean, it's supposed to be completely emotionless. The most successful traders in the world, they are completely emotionless. I'm still struggling with trying to keep emotion out of it. It's hard sometimes, but the most successful traders in the world that have made immense amount of wealth, they have zero emotion. They trade based on only technical analysis, and a losing trade is just a statistical thing. It's just something that will happen every now and then. So that's the first thing. And also, on the other hand, if you're feeling very happy about your trade, if you're feeling euphoric and you feel like you want to start dancing because you want to trade, then that's also the exact amount of wrong. You're not supposed to have these emotions, because this feeds. Actually, many of these traders, from this Market Wizard book, they say that the biggest amount of money they lost didn't come from a losing streak, but actually from a winning streak. After a few winning trades, people it gets up to their head. They think they're the best traders in the world. They start upping their position sizes, and everything just goes overboard. And I've been through that myself. You end up with something called revenge trading, where you just try to up your position size to try to gain back your previous loss, and that always ends in disaster. And most of the big traders have lost their whole account a few times doing that, before actually learning from that, realizing that emotions are not supposed to be involved in trading.
Would you say that they got wrecked?
Yeah. Yeah, actually all big traders in the world, they have gotten wrecked at least once, like extremely wrecked, like their whole account blown. All the big traders in the world, because it's a part of the learning curve. You have to realize, we have to learn from your mistakes, and without this big emotional lesson, it's very hard to understand. But you learn from these events, and it's actually a valuable lesson.
Yeah, I need to agree with both of them. I agree with Carl that you should be in Bitcoin as well for the true fundamentals, But on the other side, I also agree with Carl that if you are trading, you should trade emotionless, which is really difficult. And that's why a lot of people are using bots nowadays, because bots, they don't have emotion, they just trade, the signals. So at the same time, I see the trading also as a sort of a hobby. So like some people go to a fitness school, some people go playing football, some people play golf, and some people use like 20% of their capital for going into a casino or playing blackjack, and some people would just like to play the trading game. And I need to say, if you look to the left on all the charts, nobody can predict the future. But if you look to the left on the charts, you can always see the past. And in the past, you can see patterns, and you can make a better judgment of what the price of Bitcoin is going to do tomorrow if you just compare it to the past and see what kind of fractals, what kind of movements Bitcoin did, what kind of drops were there in the past, why did Bitcoin whales upload their wallet just before this drop, and then you get excitement in this game. For me, and that's why you should always just play with the money you can afford and are prepared to lose, if you see it as a sport like me.
Chris?
Yeah, I have not a lot of things to add here. I can, from a fundamental perspective, I can agree with Kyle, because I myself, I hold the biggest portion of my portfolio also in Bitcoin. I'm always saying that, and I would advise the majority at least to do the same, since we are all very certain about the long-term price development of Bitcoin. But also with Carl, I can agree, I also lost my account before, and I was much more emotional in the beginning than right now, and now it's sometimes very hard when I see, okay, I'm getting emotional, I take profits, and I'm happy about the profits. I try to at least take my equity out, and then let the rest ride. And it's I think it's very important to kill emotions, and for the most part I was able to do that so far, and I also saw my performance increasing ever since I did that.
Nice. How much do you, so I hear like an underlining theme, right? Like don't trade with like an amount that would get you emotional, right? Like trade with like a certain amount. So what is that amount? Like how much do you trade with? Like how much are you willing to?
I think my opinion is that in my experience, trading with any amount gets you emotional, because it's not necessarily you're afraid to lose your shirt. It's the fact that it's a game. It's a gambling. You can go into the Vegas casino and put $1 down on blackjack. You're still going to get emotional. You might not be heartbroken if you lose, but it's still the thrill of winning or losing money. It's still gambling at the end of the day. So in my opinion, it's almost impossible. Like Didi said, yeah, if you're going to use bots, that's one way to eliminate the emotional complexities of trading. But in my experience anyway, the short-lived experience, it's almost impossible to remove emotion from the equation unless you're a pro or something like that, and that's what you do for a living. That's my experience, but I'm a novice, so.
It's just like in poker. I mean, poker players, the successful ones, they have mastered the art of not being emotional of specific hands. They have hundreds of hands during a day, so the emotional thrill of one single hand just doesn't really get them to that level of emotional state, because they're just so used to it. And that's where poker and trading have so much in common, and this is one of them. It's just like a grind. You have to grind, and a pro poker player would never go in with his like even 10% of his portfolio. He would never do that into one tournament or into one cash game, because that would be too much emotional. And a professional poker player knows to not put himself in that situation, and it's the same with a professional trader.
Yeah, and your edge is also very slightly profitable only. Usually in poker, it's like if you have 55%, and also of course the house always gets something from every hand. If you have 55% and you go 10% in a specific tournament or in a cash game or in heads up or whatever, then you only have to lose 10 times in a row, which is possible with a 55% edge, and you lose all your money. So of course statistically it only makes sense to trade with a very small fraction of your trading portfolio, which in turn is only a small fraction of your total portfolio. So if your trading portfolio is 3% of your total portfolio, then every trade should be maybe, I don't know, a very small fraction of these 3%, just to make that it makes statistically sense with a 55% edge. So 100 trades, 55 are profitable, and then maybe you should trade with 1% in every trade or whatever, like maybe more, but you should make sure that you get this edge, that the edge is your profit, and that's why you're trading. Every trade should be only a small fraction.
I think if you compare gambling with trading, you need to be aware that the only difference between gambling and trading is that if you need to use a skill or knowledge that will increase the opportunity of winning, then it's not gambling anymore, then it's like trading, because you're using a skill or a knowledge. If you can't use your skill or a knowledge and you just push a button, then it's gambling. So I think that's a huge difference there. But again, I agree with all these guys. It's let's say if you hold 80% and you play with 20%, then even then every trade you make, you just use the 5% of those 20%. So you decrease your chances of losing too much in a row.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for most of the people, trading is gambling, unfortunately. So Kyle is right on that. But of course, everyone who takes it seriously and who has a set of rules and trades based on his own trading setup and on a set of rules instead of emotions, he can consider himself a trader if he just learned enough and he's not emotional and he's sticking to a set of rules no matter what. Otherwise, it is gambling.
So you need to have a perfect setup of your portfolio management and your emotion management. Then you will succeed.
That's the winning formula. Okay.
Then you might.
Then you might succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. So recently you shared, Didi, you made a tweet about unschooling. And I know that you have this theory in general with your children, unschooling. But on that note, like in regards to what we're talking about, are you teaching them to invest? Like, are you teaching them these fundamentals, or like how do you see educating them? Because that's
like, unschooling is maybe the wrong word, because of course we are schooling them, but we are unschooling them from the traditional systems. We are schooling them and preparing them for the future and not for the past. Let's give me this example, because it's a beautiful example I can refer to because of Carl sitting here and Chris sitting here. I lead by example. I think I need to lead by example because my kids will learn out of this. For example, YouTube. I started YouTubing now, and I didn't monetize YouTube till now, till I meet these two guys, and they activated this energy in me again in this YouTube thing. They said, maybe you will like it. Try it. Maybe you're a good YouTuber. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do it, but maybe I can show my kids that I can do it. And if I can do it, they can do it. So I started to do this YouTubing every day, and I found out it's like I really like it. Here I get goosebumps, and even talking, I really love it. And so I'm thankful for you guys to even showing me this way. And then now I'm showing my kids, hey kids, look, I made my first $50 now on YouTube, and I'm doing it only with my own energy, my own phone, walking the beach, recording some beautiful videos, and I'm monetizing my skill. So by leading by example, I show my kids now that how they can monetize their skills without even having an education in schools. Just by following their passion or finding this thing that drives them in their lives, that they love to talk about, that they love to do. We are going slowly virtual in the world. In 15 years, man, we will have 20% digital nomads. Today I read this beautiful article again. Binance has over 1,200 employees divided in 50 countries, all working and schooling from home. And why? Because technology is ready for this. We have cloud servers that can be deployed to people's homes all over the world. We can work together, we can do Zoom calls, we can do conference calls. More and more companies will get rid of the huge overhead costs of owning huge buildings all over the world and decentralize their jobs. So we need to prepare kids for this decentralized world of living and way of living. And that's why we unschool them and prepare them for the future, because I think the future will be a very beautiful, decentralized future where everybody can work from home or any other beautiful place in the world, like we all are doing here. And I think this is just an amazing time we are living. So that's you need to show your kids by leading by example.
Thank you. If you had to say what the goal and purpose of your YouTube channel is, what is it?
It's two things. One, it's fulfilling my own need because I wake up very early in the morning and always I'm like just like in bed doing nothing, watching YouTube videos. So I think like, okay, maybe I can fulfill my need in action and adventure. So I get up very early. I go to all beautiful places on the island. So I have this daddy time without the kids, and I fulfill the need for adventure. That is one of the things. And the second part is that I just want to educate people all over the world about the true fundamentals of crypto, but also about this beautiful game of trading. And I want to show them, that this decentralized crypto lifestyle is a lifestyle that could be an option for more people out there. If they are fed up with lockdowns, working in an office from 8 till 5, not being happy, slowly turning depressed, and all these things, there are other ways of living. And we all here, all 4 of us, all 5 of us, are just the proof of this. And that's what I try to show people by using YouTube. I prefer in the future to use a decentralized video platform that incentivizes me in the same way for the thing we do, because I don't like that if YouTube or Twitter or any other centralized social media shadow bans or even totally bans us. So I think that will evolve as well to a sort of decentralized version of social media somewhere in the future. But till now I really enjoy it, and just spread the word of this life. Yeah.
Thank you. Kyle, so I know you started your YouTube channel recently as well. If you had to define the mission and purpose of your YouTube channel, what would that be?
So it's really about inspiring change and educating. It's still I think that that time and audience will kind of help me define what is the most interesting that I have to offer to my audience. But it's always about giving my perspective on current events, past events, world events, and I go into really big picture kind of things. So like the last video was on about like my opinion on Cold War II coming up, which is what we're seeing from Russia. And I've always said this for the past 6-7 years, that there's going to be a time when the people who rule the world realize that they're being threatened by Bitcoin and decentralized systems, and they're not going to go down easily. And there's going to be massive pushback, massive resistance, because people that rule don't like to give up that power easily. And so it's a different perspective. I have a bit more conspiratorial approach, I guess, than a lot of other people. I ask a lot of questions, I challenge a lot of ideas, and then I share a lot of my own philosophy with the way that the world is, the way that the world should be, in my opinion. And it's really meant to be, and also I want to inspire other people to get involved in what we're doing, and just encourage them to get involved in this industry, because it's a lot of fun and it's amazing. And then if I do talk about news, it's giving my perspective on that, and I feel that my perspective is offers a little bit more than most, just because of the fact that there's a lot of reading between the lines when it comes down to crypto news, and he said, she said things and things like that, that really, if you've been in the industry for a long time, you kind of understand if someone's saying something but actually means something else or something like that. So it's hard for me to make a video as much as these guys do. I'd like to make it more often, but I'm also starting 2 businesses and trying to maintain some sanity. So it's difficult, but I would like to increase that more. Carl keeps telling me that he's put less effort into each video and just more frequency, so we'll try attempting that. But it's hard for me to make something with that's not well researched and really is.
We're perfectionists.
In a way.
I think we all started off with that. I also was like that in the beginning. I really wanted to make sure that every video was amazing with the most valuable content ever. But I realized that it took so much time that I was not able to provide as much content to the people as I would otherwise. So it's a balance, but
Yeah.
you have to find your balance.
Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah.
So thank you.
But it's nice having you guys around to continue to inspire that. Because, like Didi said, it was you guys coming in and encouraging us to start these YouTube videos, and thank you guys for that. It's been awesome, and having you guys' help and advice and tips and inspiration and motivation and cross pollination and things like this has all been very, very helpful for all of us.
Yep. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks for helping with the kick-ass title today.
Yeah, nice titles.
That
I want to
just
click it.
Super clickbait.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, but it's with clickbait. It's like I always talk about a box of chocolate, like Forrest Gump. So if you have amazing chocolate to provide,
Wait. What did Forrest Gump say? Life is
like a box of chocolate. Or
life.
life was
Mama
like a
always
box
said
of
life is like a box. But I thought it said was.
And I always say a YouTube video is like a box of chocolate or was like a box of chocolate, whereas the chocolate inside, it's the content, but no one will eat your chocolate if the box looks horrible. So you want to make the box appealing, you want to make the title and the thumbnail of a video very appealing and click-worthy, so the people can actually click the video and explore the content, which is the chocolates. So it's just the YouTube game is how the algorithm works, and that's why, of course, we make it emotional and everything in the title and thumbnail, and then the content should be, of course, as value adding as it can get.
Very insightful. Okay, so a question for you, but I have a question for you. But let me ask you first. So I think it was also in your last YouTube video where you talk about Russia banning Bitcoin, and in the intro you talk about how many of your predictions since you've got into the space have come true. And those who know you know this. But for those that don't know watching, could you list out some things you've called, some predictions you've made that now have come true?
Sure. I mean, you have to remember that I was in this in 2012 and an advocate since 2013. So I mean, just saying that, I told everybody, and they got super sick and tired of hearing about it. Was that this is going to be something that's adopted by mainstream. And then finally in 2017, that seemed to be something that was vindicated. I've talked a lot about how this is going to be, bigger, like that it's going to be way more exciting than traditional life as far as like things like, I used to tell people that, you think bank robbery, like the first time I got hacked was 2014, I think, and it was $30,000 worth of Bitcoin, and that was all my Bitcoin. And as I just logged in one day to blockchain.info, and there was just zeros on my account balance, and it's like, oh, that's weird. And maybe I logged into the wrong account or something. So I logged out, logged back in, and then it was still zeros, and then I went to transaction history and just noticed there was one withdrawal for the entire amount to who knows where. And so that's when I learned about security and really went hard. But I started telling people this is huge, to make bank robbing look like child's play, and then we've seen bank robbing used to be something I watched when I was a kid that was exciting, and holy shit, someone got $1 million in a bank robbery. That was huge, right? Huge, 800,000, something like that. They rob an armored truck, maybe they get 2 or 3 million. Now we hear about a hack worth 10 million and we don't even bat an eye.
By the way, your $30,000 worth of Bitcoin in 2014 today would be worth 1 million. Just wanted to put that out here.
Again, a clickbait title.
Just to rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, it's and that wasn't the only time. There's been a lot lost along the way. I'm not the only one. When I'm out and about, I hear, meet lots of people who have that classic story of, oh yeah, like I used to have 10,000 Bitcoin, and then I threw it away on a hard drive or something, So, there's that, and then, just the fact that there was going to be massive pushback from regulators, which we've seen this back and forth. It's been fairly obvious because when I first started doing World Super Lotto, it was unregulated completely, and that's why I can make claims like I did. No taxes, no government regulations, blah blah blah, and I knew that there was one day that it would be attempted to be regulated, and in different countries, they're trying to do that. But if people understand how to protect themselves and remain private, if you use Monero or something, you're always private. But if you use Bitcoin, you kind of have to take lessons on how to remain private, not attach your Bitcoin wallet to any type of addresses or wallets that are KYC'd, things like Coinbase and other types of usually cash in, cash out types of ways that will tie your Bitcoin to your identity, and then no longer do you have anonymity. Let's see, I knew that I often made the prediction, I said it would go to $1,000, pretty soon. That was back in 2016, it did. And for me, I was telling everybody that it would back at $180. And that $1,000 was big for me because that was my point of being able to not have to work anymore in my life. And so that was one I was telling people all the time. One of my old business partners got me for my birthday a t-shirt that said, "You should have listened to me," and had a big Bitcoin symbol on it, because I was, again, telling everybody about it. Yeah, I'd have to think about more, but yeah, and then I think that this biggest one is going to be a really big pushback. I think Russia is just the beginning. I think that even in 2015 and 16, the banks were making statements that, and the G20 summits and things like that, they constantly said that we don't see cryptocurrency and Bitcoin as a threat. And I still don't know if they do yet. However, as it gains more market traction, and I think the number is when Bitcoin hits $250,000 per Bitcoin, it will usurp or overtake the market cap of the US dollar. Maybe not anymore because it's tremendous, but probably. And so at that point, when Bitcoin becomes more popular than the US dollar, there's going to be a lot of pushback. Anybody who has threatened the US dollar in the past has been eliminated. Like talk about Gaddafi and who else was it? And like all these guys who want to get off the petrodollar and things like that, or publicly made JFK, wanted to get off the Federal Reserve and back to the gold standard, killed. So Satoshi was smart to remain anonymous, because if he wasn't, he would probably be dead by now. So yeah, anyway, I think there's going to be a huge, massive war, and it's not, I don't know if it's going to be like with bullets and bombs, but it's going to be some type of Cold War, probably trying to do with regulation, threatening people, things like that, like Russia's doing now. Because like Russia used to think that Ethereum and things like that were a good idea until they probably realized that it meant being transparent and having to get rid of the shady ways of doing business they've been used to for such a long time.
Yeah, can get 7 years of imprisonment in Russia if you buy Bitcoin in the wrong way without KYCing with the central bank of Russia before.
Wow.
Yeah.
What predictions do you guys have in regards to Bitcoin for this year?
It's going to change the world. It's already changing the world. It's going to change the world even more.
I think that we've seen a big bear market. Bitcoin's been going down a lot, even down to 3.8K. I think that was the capitulation that shook out a lot of the weaker hands, a lot of the over-leveraged people, and I think that maybe that is something that was needed for the bull run to continue. Investors always say, or like big traders always say, that markets have to, like after the bull run, you have to have a big correction to weak out all of the weakest hands, and only after the biggest shakeout can the next bull run form. And maybe this was the last capitulation that was needed. So I think that we're ready for the big bull run. I actually said that even before this capitulation, and I guess I was wrong in that. But I guess, yeah, when the stock markets crash and when we see Corona like that we saw, things can change very quickly. But I don't think that Bitcoin is going to go below those levels again. I think we saw the bottom. And the stock to flow ratio model, which is the most famous price prediction model for Bitcoin, shows us that after the halving, we will see a big bull run, basically, just like we saw from the previous two halvings. And I tend to believe that this model is accurate, and that's why I believe that the coming months are going to start looking more and more bullish, because that is the trend that we saw from the previous two halvings, that after the halving, the months they start to set in higher and higher closes every single month. So if the stock to flow ratio model basically is going to repeat itself, then we will see Bitcoin go bullish for the end of the year.
Do you have a number?
No.
No. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I also like the stock to flow model, and something in addition to that, what I've been sharing. First of all, since when we had this big crash to 3,800, I was surprised myself about the severity of that crash. But ever since we quickly wicked back above the 200 week moving average, I was saying I was flipping bullish on my channel again, and I even once we went to 7,000, I was calling for 10,500 because of a specific bump and run reversal pattern. But right now, very connected to this stock to flow model, which is predicting increasing prices and even a parabolic bull run for the next 1.5 years. Also, I've been sharing another chart on my channel which shows that every single time, if we have 4-year cycles, every 4 years the future inflation gets cut in half. We see the Bitcoin price converging. We have converging trend lines, and maybe we can overlay it here in that video. And we always see immediately after the halving Bitcoin breaking out of these converging trend lines, going to the next parabolic bull run and forming the next all-time high within the next 1.5 years. And this happened in 2012, after November, the halving 2012. We broke out actually in January 2013 to the next all-time high. And the same thing happened once again after we hit that all-time high. The Bitcoin price was had converging trend lines, and at the halving in 2016 in July, we broke out after July to the next all-time high out of this converging trend lines, and now we were forming the next one. And big surprise here at the halving, these converging trend lines find their end towards the end of the year. So if we are not breaking out this month, latest, if history repeats, will be towards the end of the year. And if history does anything close to what it has been doing in the last 11 years, the Bitcoin price would be breaking out once again out of these converging trend lines, finding its new all-time high. And this new all-time high prediction of mine would be somewhere among the lines of 200 to 400,000 US dollars. Then of course finding maybe an average, the stock to flow model predicts an average price of 100,000, so maybe something like this would be true. For this year, I'm not sure. It's so much exogenous risks. If Bitcoin is not able to decouple itself and we see the financial markets crumble again, Bitcoin can crash down. If we finally see that decoupling we are all waiting for, it will not. So really, like for this year, it is very hard to predict. There's just too much exogenous risk, too much global economic uncertainty and political uncertainty going on, especially with the riots in the United States. So very hard to predict. But if you point a gun to my head, I would be more bullish for this year, for the end of this year, and I would point towards prices way above 10,000 until December, way above 10,000 until December 2020.
Like 11,000?
No, way above. If
Great
we see
above.
if we see the breakout out of these converging trend lines, I would say anything between 10 and 20,000 is possible.
I need to agree with both of them. This year, I'm still bullish, also because we closed this month, last month, above 9,360, which was, I think, the last time we closed above the trend line was like 12 months before. So I think we see this bull run, like the stock to flow model is showing us, that will bring us to above 100,000 next year, somewhere end of next year, beginning of year 2022. Bloomberg just came out today with a report. They are saying Bitcoin will hit 20K end of this year. So they made the same analysis as Chris made. So they are telling us, yeah, 20K this year, easy possible. And if I need to believe Adam Beck, who also could be Satoshi, he is even predicting 300K Bitcoin like in the next 5 years, even without institutional investors. So yeah, it can go all that way. I'm already happy when we stay around this 10K, and this year beautiful at around 10K, 20K, did a little bit in January after Christmas, and then run up to the beautiful 100K at the end of next year.
Thank you.
If we go to 100K next year, do we meet here in the same house? because then we did the best prediction from this house, of course. You need to jump into the pool altogether.
Yeah.
If I'm here, I'm in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I mean, institutional infrastructure has been building up since 2015 or 16. Everybody's been getting in place for this. I think the markets have been artificially held back in order to prepare for all the institutions to be able to participate. That means regulation getting in line. That means software technology getting ready for it. That means doing alpha and beta testing for institutions. That means, global regulations being adopted. That means messaging being sent out there. That means institutions being able to get ahead of, keeping the price low while buying in OTC so it doesn't affect the exchange rate. And I think all of this has been being put in place, and I can't imagine that we're going to have to wait another 4 years before that time bomb gets set off. So I believe that this next cycle is going to be a super cycle where we easily hit, it's also hard to say, I mean, we've always had a severe correction of over 80% on each bull run we've had so far. Therefore, it'd be logical to assume that we would have one again. But it might be a bit different this time in the fact that before now you have smart. It's like to me it would be like saying gold. If it was a free for all for people to acquire gold and people knew there was just a very little bit amount left, and everyone was fortunate to get some, would they go then sell it because the price was higher? I don't know. I'm not sure, but I do believe that we're going to have the next bull run is going to be insane. However, I think that we have some time to get there. I just can't imagine, like, people around the world are broke as fuck right now. Just 45 million or something unemployed in the States. There's way more coming. There's riots in the streets. People are looting. There could be this second wave of this, coronavirus, where they scare the shit out of everybody, because of the flu. And that's intentional. And there's no way that it wasn't intentional to scare people. So whatever that motive is, could still continue when the riots settle down. It's not far-fetched to think that there being martial law imposed, military is already in place, curfews are already in act. So if people can't leave their homes, how are they going to go back to work? Every business owner right now is struggling to try, just hoping that they can generate revenue again, because every business owner in America right now is trying to decide, do I shut down or not? Do I preserve my own capital or do I pay my employees? And I think that it's on the cusp of there's only so much the Fed can do to prop up the market. They can't prop up every company. And even though they can prop up the companies that are leading the indexes in order to keep the market on a run, I just don't see how they can, at some point, so I just don't see how the Fed can continue to prop up the market without a massive hyperinflation, because there's just not enough money to print in order to prop up the entire economy. And even though Wall Street is living in a bubble, a dream of just hopium, the underlying economy that is in shambles right now ultimately has to catch up with the market. And I think that because a lot of Bitcoin's price rally comes from investors and manipulation and whales and things like that, it's still coupled to the traditional markets. So I'm extremely hesitant to make any type of immediate predictions, because I just don't know. But I think that people are being cautious, because if we didn't have this thing with the economy and corona and riots and things like that, I think that we should have already been into a bull run by now. But we're not. And so I'm not sure, but I think that we need to just be aware of this. And but I would imagine that if we do have one more capitulation, that would be the last one. But I think that because I don't think that we can have what happened with the last capitulation was not because Bitcoin capitulated because it did it independently. It did it because it was directly correlated to traditional capitulation. And if the Fed didn't step in, pause the markets, and reassure everybody that they were going to pump a bunch of money into it, we could have fell even further. And so, yeah, I think that it comes down to how artificial and how it's insane. To me, the stock market is absolutely insane. It makes no sense at all, and I just don't understand it at all. So I think that we're unfortunately tied to it for a while longer. We still have Bitcoin's infrastructure still needs to be more easily adopted by people before your average Joe can feel comfortable owning it and holding it. Unfortunately, it's going to be institutions who take advantage of getting it at what's still low, and you're not going to see your everyday citizen using it as an investment, I think, until the price is already well past 100,000, and it's less volatile and things like that. So at that point, it'll be less. I think that's when we'll see a decoupling, is when it's less supported by investors and more supported by people who are actually using the currency.
Thank you. Okay, so lately YouTube has been shadow banning Bitcoin content. Can you guys just share your experience with this, and why do you think YouTube is...
Clearly I've been shadow banned, otherwise I would have had probably as many views as Carl, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Massive shadow banning on my channel. Every time I post something, it just instantly just not seen by much people.
Yeah, YouTube is actually shadow banning some YouTube channels, and it's a little bit frustrating. And I think it's because of so many scammers. There are a lot of hacked YouTube accounts where scammers are fooling people into sending Bitcoin to an address which is belonging to the scammers. So YouTube is basically limiting the reach on some Bitcoin channels, and it's not much you can do about it. Just ride out the storm and hope that they stop doing it. Some people have fears that maybe they're doing it to stop the adoption of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that's also possible, but who knows? I mean, YouTube doesn't give us any clear answers, so
They haven't given any clear
No.
answers?
It is possible, and I was always on the side that it's only because of these live stream scams, because it was very either videos got a warning or a strike, or they lost so much views in the very beginning of the release of the video. But now there's a new shadow banning happening, where some channels just experience much lower views from the very beginning, and it is not an obvious shadow ban. So if this is the case, I would maybe lean a little bit at least to the side that maybe they don't want to spread news about Bitcoin now, because this seems like a very sketchy thing to do if you just limit the reach, even though there is a clear demand. We saw it, all of these channels which are affected right now, they had much higher views before, and now the impressions of the video just significantly declined from the very first minute they published the video. So I think it is possible but of course this is still a conspiracy theory and it has to be proven right. But there's clearly something going on, and it's not only in the Bitcoin niche, it's also in other niches, like with London Real, for example. They are sharing some news about that. However, other channels like Mike Maloney, who's talking about gold and also about the flaws of the monetary system, I don't think his views are declining. So it's very hard for me to tell right now what is the real reasons for the shadow banning.
My channel is too small to be shadow banned, but it will be big once.
Very, very soon.
No, but I haven't experienced any shadow ban, but I really hate that it is happening, because I have met these guys here now intensively because we spend this lockdown here. I know how much effort people are spending to create these beautiful videos and this content. I experienced it by doing it myself, so I know how much work it is. So it's just very painful to see your work you're doing is being like shadow banned or even deleted. It's just not nice. And you know, like Trump said, even Twitter now starts to shadow ban his tweets. So I don't think that's a perfect example of a democracy where everybody should be able to have a freedom of speech and show what they want to show.
No.
Agreed.
I think we shouldn't have any censorship at all, and
Yeah.
the free market will just diminish the wrong information. So even fake news, like, because who's deciding whether something is fake news or not? It is
Right.
always a central institution, and they could be either wrong or have another agenda justifying that it's fake news, but it's not. So in a perfect market, in a free world, in a free market, you should just allow all the news, and the market decides which is right or which is wrong. And,
I think that's why it was called social media,
Right.
because it's the media made by the social people. All over the world.
Socialists.
Yeah, so-
Socialists. Yeah. How many of your videos have been taken down?
Taken down, like they always come back up again. So, but maybe 3, 4. But now for the past like 2-3 weeks, my whole channel has been like YouTube is limiting the reach of my videos for some reason for the past maybe 3 weeks. And there are like a couple of other channels that have, like 3 maybe other channels that have seen the exact same kind of phenomenon where every single video just gets less and less views for the past like 3 weeks, to the point where now I'm getting basically half the views I got, or like 40% less views than just like 4 weeks ago. So it's obvious that they're doing something about those views. Yeah.
Which is sad because now you reach the vast majority of your subscribers, but before you also reach a lot of new people, which is the goal of every YouTuber. You want to educate also new people. And yeah, it could fit this conspiracy theory that YouTube, okay, all the subscribers, they can watch it, but we don't want new people to see it. Of
Yeah,
course
I
that's
even had
frustrating.
one video with the click-through rate was 22%, which is double the usual, but I only got the same kind of views as I did like 4 weeks ago.
And so half the impressions, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Close.
But it was supposed to be at least like 50% more, maybe even double based on the click-through rate. So it's obvious that they did something to limit the reach of my videos. Hopefully this is just a temporary thing, where they are just trying to crack down on these scammers, and hopefully the scammers get weeded out, and eventually they will lift that kind of ban. Yeah.
You? How many videos have been shadow banned?
Before I answer that, one thing which also impacts that is that many YouTube employees are working from home or not working at all during this Corona time. So, in case this conspiracy theory is not true, I think after this whole craze, when the people return to work at YouTube, they might manually fact check that, and then in this case that would stop as well. But yeah, I had a little bit more than 4 videos taken down, maybe 6, 7, 8 or so, but all of these videos came back very quickly. And then I had a few shadow bans, and that always harms the videos because they are only valid for like 24 hours when I'm uploading the next one. And yeah, recently I saw some videos getting a warning or a strike being taken down, then they came back, but the views were killed, and I had like 2 obvious shadow bans also. And right now I can't really tell because I get less views than before, 20-30%, but it's not as severe as for other channels. So maybe I'm not affected right now, maybe I am, but not that strongly. I can't really tell. So far it is still kind of okay, but yeah, I was affected a lot of times so far.
At what point will you seek an alternative, or like, because there's library, there's a few other options.
I think that it's important to understand that the audience on the alternative platforms is significantly smaller. It's like a fraction of what YouTube has. So you have a smaller market of viewers, and it's not possible to grow into the millions of subscribers, or at least right now it's very hard to do something like that, especially in a niche as small as crypto. So if you want to talk to a wide audience, then YouTube is still the best place by far. You can use these other alternatives, but I would never switch and use that as my main channel.
it could be sensible to just start uploading there, or just syncing the library to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it's just additional views, even if it's only like 10 views, it's 10 views without any additional work. So, but yeah, he's right. If you want to reach critical masses right now, you should still be uploading on YouTube and just do the other thing on the sidelines until it eventually grows and
Link it.
gets adopted. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm using library already for many months, so I'm
Okay.
backing up all my videos with library since the beginning. And I think even if YouTube or any other organization starts to shadow ban, the power should still be in the social media aspect. So you're still able to share your links to your YouTube videos and all your social media channels. So at the end, you will get the views. If you also just spend time to keeping your social media income.
Are you getting some views on library?
Now on library I don't get a lot of views, but for example, I also upload my videos or the link to YouTube videos on Riots. This is this new decentralized social media platform where you are incentivized for tweeting and all that stuff. And I get a lot of likes from this platform. Yes, I can see there's a huge crypto community on Riots. It's a beautiful app also, very simple. You just click, upload, ready.
What is it called?
Rebuzz, like REBUZZ.
Rebuzz.
Yeah, so that one is, I get some viewers from there now. Yes, I see that community growing a lot. So that's cool. Uptrend, I'm using that one as well. They are doing very well as well at the moment. So I just post my links in these social medias to get, even if I get shadow banned on YouTube, you probably still get views from your contacts that you are connected to on LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms. Yeah.
Thank you. And Kyle, do you think you'll be using library or
Yeah.
how to?
Yeah, for sure. Once my channel is big enough to, I mean, there's so much work to do right now with just figuring out how to link them all. I mean, eventually I will definitely, I support anything decentralized and much rather that take off, but like these guys said, if you want to, no one wants to upload a video and have nobody watch it. You want as many people to see it as possible. You're trying to tell a message to people, and you want it to get out to people. So, I mean, maybe by the time that my channel is bigger, maybe those things will have more popularity. But I think that because I make extremely controversial content, I'm probably more likely to get banned or shadow banned or videos removed or strikes against me because I challenge ideas like COVID and conspiracies and call 9/11 fake and things like this. Those are things that mainstream doesn't like to hear. So for myself, it's probably even more incentivization to use something that's won't censor me.
But then again, there's one channel is called The Crow House. Do you know this guy?
No.
This guy is from Australia. He has like more than 400,000 subscribers in YouTube, and he's talking about this like every day. He's like judging the FBI, the CIA. He's judging like every centralized institution. He's still alive and he's still online and he's still monetizing all his stuff.
If you look at someone like the Dollar Vigilante, right, Jeff Berwick, I think he had in the last 2 months he posts almost every day, had 20 videos removed.
Jeez.
Yeah, 20. He posts simultaneously to BitChute, DTube,
His own website, yeah.
library, his website, all simultaneously. I think there's some app or something you can use to simultaneously upload to all of them, which would be extremely nice if we can figure that out.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to wrap up with asking you all two things. So one is, what would your message be to YouTube Corp administration management team that is implementing the shadow ban? And the second thing is, can you share what you are currently working on that maybe nobody knows or you haven't released yet? Could you share a little bit about that? So, Kyle, start with you. If you had
YouTube, knock it off.
Case in point.
Stop. Knock it off. Okay. that's that. And then I'm working on things that may or may not know already if you've been watching my previous videos, but House of DAO, which is really important, I think, to all of us here, which is crypto, blockchain, co-working, co-living community, focused on rebuilding the systems that we grew up with in order for people to grow up into a much happier way of life, with things like Didi was talking about earlier, monetizing your passions, learning how to be the architect of your own life, building something that has a community with common goals and values and things like that, how to thrive and be a successful community. This is really exciting, things that a lot of people around the world are very interested in what we're building here. And the other one is really for maturing the space and the architecture of the infrastructure in the space. So we're helping exchanges, which are one of the biggest problems in the space, with their biggest pain points, which is like liquidity and visibility, regulation, things like that. And so we're building an alliance called Crypto Exchange Alliance to help exchanges survive and democratize the space, versus what most people think will be a massive consolidation. And we don't want that, because that's monopolistic and that eliminates good competition. And what we would like to see is a world where there's lots of exchanges thriving, where they all have to compete not for first mover advantage, but more for best customer service, best fees, most transparency, best UX UI, things like that. So that's and then I'm working on the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, do all the things that they do. Yeah, and then trying to take advantage of where we live in this beautiful place here, and to maintain some social life and some sanity as well in everything that we're doing. So
Yeah, I would. In regards to YouTube, I just would love to see them stop doing all of that. I don't really have any clear message to them. I think I've had my voice heard on Twitter as much as I can. That's usually where they keep their attention. But other than that, I don't really think I have anything to shill. No. I might have some cool projects coming up in the future, but nothing to announce for now.
Yeah, regarding YouTube, one positive thing is I have seen a lot of very controversial things on YouTube I could never see in the New York Times or whatever, Financial Times. So on the one hand, I'm very positively towards YouTube. I just love doing videos, and I saw so much extremely controversial things where I could never imagine, wow, is this really on YouTube, even with a lot of views. But on the other side, it's so
about Bill Gates.
A lot of things about Bill Gates and whatever, like extreme, very critical. But then on the other side, and they always gave up back the videos after they made a clear mistake. But on the other hand, it's very annoying to see this shadow banning happening. For our videos are, in my opinion, extremely important, especially in light of what's going to come. The economy has not been that bad off like since 100 years. People are rioting. They lost everything. The middle class is so slow, so low, so small. The lower class is so huge. They are unheard, and they are completely losing it right now. And so I think it's very important to educate the people about that. I really hope that they get their workers back to work, because they should start working again. If they don't want to send them back to work, they could work from home, and it would be just nice to have these problems solved. In regards to projects, I don't have something specific to announce, but I have something coming up. It's a project about on-chain analytics, on-chain fundamental based price predictions for Bitcoin. And it's a very revolutionary thing, whereas technical analysis exists since ages. This is pulling data points from the Bitcoin blockchain. It's very, very accurate, very easy to understand, and very, very accurate in terms of price predictions. Everyone who wants to take his knowledge there to the next level, I will provide the solution for that. In my opinion, it's a huge, huge value added, and I'm working on that for a very long time already. I can't wait to release it, but anything specific will be announced on my channel pretty soon also.
Didi?
you're referring to YouTube, just keep doing what you do, but then without the shadow banning of crypto content, because I also agree with Chris, I like all the content, I like to see what I want to see and not what I'm forced to see, like traditional television. And if it comes to life, I'm living life. I'm trying to raise 3 beautiful daughters that are now nearing the puberty, which is like a very big adventure as a dad. I'm trying to satisfy my wife and trying to satisfy my own needs for adventure in this beautiful digital nomad life. Becoming a small YouTuber channel at the moment, playing an advisor role for a lot of companies, of which one will be very interesting, but I can only announce that one in a week or something on my channel. The only thing I can tell about is it's a Swiss company, and this Swiss company is going to change the whole trading world with a very, very cool software project they are launching, and I think they are going to make a huge shift when it comes to trading in crypto, but also in traditional markets.
Very interesting. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your insight and the education. I found that very, very educational. So we'll do this again soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
My ass. Ugh.
We cut that out.
No.